What is going on, internet, and how is it going? Or should I say, looters, how are you all doing? I am Dan Howells, aka Dover64, and welcome to the first episode, the maiden voyage of our brand new podcast here. Morning, Jody, how are you doing? The maiden voyage of our brand new podcast, Ready, Set, Lute. This is a podcast where we will be talking about the latest and newest and greatest in video game news, having opinions on it, talking about it backwards and forth. Lute is an abbreviation for let's unpack this, everyone. And that's what we're going to do. Cheers. I do not have my devices on silent. I'm not going to lie, guys. This might be a little bit rough for the first one, but we're going to find out. So what is this show? Why are we doing this? This is a weekly show and podcast where we talk about what we've been playing, what's happening in the world, opinion pieces and speculation about what's really happening and what's going to happen. Just a brief overview on sort of who I am and why I think I'm qualified at all to talk about any of this sort of stuff. We'll go into who I am, I guess, deeper into the show. But I am Dan Howells. I am a streamer over on twitch.tv/Dover64, where you find yourself right now. I am 28. I've never been part of the video game industry. I have never really... I feel like everyone has dabbled in sending an article here or there to a few lesser-known publishers, but I am what I would say a student of the industry. I've spent my youth reading and listening to IGN, Kind of Funny, Giant Bomb, Polygon, and the others. But I feel like we've sort of found a niche on what we can do here. There is no podcast that I am aware of where there is one person and a co-host, where the co-host is a live Twitch show audience. That is right, guys. We want to be getting stuff from you, your opinions, your thoughts. We'll be kicking you guys questions about how you guys think things are going. This show will also be busted out onto YouTube and SoundCloud for the audio version, and also kind of hopefully Spotify, but we'll see. So, ladies, gentlemen, and the non-binary, welcome to Ready, Set, Lute, a brand new podcast that will be starting right now. This is a show that's all about segments, because I love a good segment, so we're going to get into those as we do. So without further delay, let's get in to this Sunday morning's Lute. And we're going to start off with our first segment called Not a Book Club. This is a segment where we're talking about all the media. It's a book club for everything but books. You know, we sit around and we digest the things that we have been playing. We'll be talking about games, movies, shows, whatever else it is I and you want to talk about. I know it's sort of been a trying time for everyone in the world lately. We've all had to adapt and rely on a lot more media to get through it. So I thought once a week, me, you, everyone, we can share stuff on what's going on. We can talk about stuff that's helped us get through things, stuff that we want to help with other people. So today, guys, I'm going to kick it off, right? I'm going to kick it off with this little game called Overwatch. Overwatch, Wikipedia says, was released in 2016, is a team-based multiplayer first-person shooter developed and published by Blizzard Entertainment, described as a hero shooter. Overwatch assigns players into 2 teams of 6, with each player selecting from a roster of over 30 characters, known as heroes, each with a unique style of play that is divided into 3 general roles that fit their purpose. Players on a team work together to secure and defend control points on a map or escort a payload across the map in a limited amount of time. I really don't like wine, but we got to do it. We got to keep it fancy here. I got my cufflinks on, and of course I'm wearing a suit. For those who can't, for anyone listening to the audio version, I'm suited and booted today. We're suited, booted, and looted. Anyway, that description of Overwatch, I believe, doesn't know justice. Overwatch is a first-person shooter, yes, in the idea that you look through someone's eyes and you are in the first person, and some people have guns. But it is a multiplayer-only game, and I usually stay away from those. But Overwatch has become so much more to me as of late. I've picked it up randomly at some point and started playing around, and I thought my friends would, I think, really enjoy this. I have a Thursday night sort of game group with my friends where we chill on PS4, talk shit to each other, and play some games. And I said, I think you would all really enjoy Overwatch. Everyone poo-pooed the idea. Everyone said, no, we're not into shooters. One of them is really into COD. I like that military sort of run-and-gun approach. One of them just doesn't play shooters. And so I said, no, I tell you what, I think you'll like Overwatch so much, the next time it's on sale, I'm going to buy it all for you. I'm going to buy 4 copies of this game, and we're going to give me 3 games. Give me 3 games, pick whoever you want, and we'll give it a go. And we did, and now we have all put about 50 to 60 hours in individually. That description I gave you of Overwatch, I think, gives it no justice, because Overwatch has become so much more than a video game. It is a social experience. I've always described games like Destiny or sort of online MMOs as a online chat room with distractions. The main pull of the game is you playing with your friends, your buddies, your pals, talking to new people, having these experiences that can't happen in the real world. And so Overwatch consumed me with this. It became everything we send memes about and screenshots in our group chats. It became this point of like a gravity that we were all invested in. Yes, it is a first-person shooter, but it is so complex in the fact that there are 30 characters. They all play uniquely. There are counters to everyone. It sounds overwhelming, but within 3 games, you're fully going to understand. Maybe not every character's nuances, but you know your red team and you've got to. You're always blue team actually, but you're the blue team and you've got to defend that point. And that man has a big shield, so you probably shouldn't run into him. It is a first-person shooter where you can't win every fight. It is more about team comp and team composition and picking your roles than it is just running in and shooting 3 people. And for me, someone who's pretty bad at video games, hence the whole good games play bad, that was a breath of fresh air. I can be a healer, I can stand back, and I can shoot healing grenades at a team member as he throws up a big shield, gets blocked by another team member, and he starts smacking this big hammer at a dude's face, and then a monkey flies over someone. It's got this incredibly deep G.I. Joe Action Man style lore that is hidden in the game. It is not in the game, but fans and developers behind the scenes have fleshed out the Overwatch story to a way that it is just this deep well of the most ludicrous bullshit thing, but also the hypest thing ever. In 2018, they started releasing these small... This game released in 2016, guys. This is not a new game, but it is definitely worth your time looking into. It's cheap as well. But, so in 2018, they started doing these small little... I say small, but like these Pixar-level animated shorts for every character. And in 2018, this character called McCree, who's this cowboy, got one, and it introduced this character called Echo, who is this like blue robot lady. It really doesn't matter too much. And last year they were like, yeah, we're gonna make her a character, and they just keep releasing all of these free DLCs for everyone. It is more of a fighting game in that regard. When characters are released for like the Mortal Kombats or the Tekkens, like, people go nuts for them, and that's exactly what Blizzard managed to do over with Overwatch. They managed to take this dark, grey, militaristic genre and turn it into action figures that run and jump and have to support each other, whilst also fleshing out this wonderful story and lore about everything. If you haven't yet, guys, I highly recommend checking out Overwatch. It is £14 on the PS4. It might even be cheaper on PC. I'll take a little drink of the old wine there. It is so much more than the sum of its parts, because it is this... Now, don't get me wrong, the downside of Overwatch is it gets incredibly frustrating. We'll be playing for a couple of hours once a week, and we'll lose 4 games in a row. And I'm like, I need to come off this game. This is too much. Not gonna lie, the animations really helped me get into it first. Sarah saying, yeah, absolutely. I think we spent a whole afternoon queuing up 15 of these videos, just watching everyone and just sort of getting into the reason and the personality. I think that's what bleeds through everyone's character design, is the personality of every character, from their voice lines to their looks to their optional skins to the roles they play. Overwatch became much more than a shooter for me. It became this rich, almost comic book style world with my best friends. And so maybe we could actually play something on our Wednesdays and Friday streams here, but I highly recommend you all right now go play Overwatch. Well, I mean after the stream. So, the way this segment's going to work in the future, guys, is I want you guys to be suggesting stuff for us. We'll be reviewing it, talking about it, dissecting it. You can do that by either tweeting me at bottom left at It's Dover, or by emailing the show at readysetlute@gmail.com. Remember, loot is L-U-T-E, because let's unpack this, everyone. And that's really the plan. We're going to be unpacking all this sort of stuff together. Anyway, now we kick it over to the news. Headline 1. Halo Infinite multiplayer to be free to play. Guys, this is bonkers. So, we have... this comes from twitter.com/Halo, the official Halo Twitter. And it reads, Halo is for everyone. We can confirm Halo Infinite multiplayer will be free to play and will support 120 FPS on Xbox Series X. More details to be shared. This was shared last week. We were going to cover it last week, but we had internet issues, so we couldn't. So we had to delay the first ever show. But I know I had to talk about this, guys. Halo multiplayer. The thing everyone who loves Xbox 360 talks about has gone free to play. So just to catch you all up, Halo Infinite is an upcoming first-person shooter developed by 343 Industries, originally done by Bungie, and will be published by Xbox Game Studios for Windows, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. It is planned to be released as a launch game for Xbox Series X in late 2020, the 6th main entry for the Halo series, and the 14th game overall, which is a scary number. It continues the stories of Master Chief as the third chapter of the Reclaimer saga. Now, as a guy who has no idea what Halo was really about, taking a drink. As a guy who has no idea what Halo was really about, this is a bonkers quote. How are there 14 games in the Halo series, first of all? But I think with it going free to play is interesting because it is going to be following the footsteps of what Modern Warfare, of what Fortnite, of what Apex, of what Hyperscape, 1,000 other multiplayer shooters have done. But they're doing it with Halo, Xbox's big franchise. The Spartan laser of the Xbox. That and Gears, right? I would say maybe Forza as well, but that's not quite as prestigious, I would say. I think when you think Xbox, you think Master Chief, right? And they're making the online version of that, the one everyone says, like, oh, I remember playing in, like, dorm rooms, or I remember being part of LAN parties. It was Halo 2 or Halo 3. I feel like I hear that story 100 times a year. It is nuts that they are saying, Halo, if you own a Windows product, if you own a Microsoft product, you can play it. The full experience. Now, is it going to have micros in there? Is it going to have loot boxes in there? I have no idea. Are you going to get stuff for owning the game? I would assume so, because when this game comes out, it is going to be $59.99, $69.99. I believe next-gen consoles will have to charge more for their games. We can get to that a little bit later on. But I think this proves that Microsoft are trying to play a different game. They are not competing with Sony. I don't even think they're trying to compete with Nintendo, but that's a different thing. But, like, obviously, Sony, Xbox, the big two players in the video game industry, right? They're the two people who you think of when you think video games. Again, maybe Nintendo, depending on your age, you were either an older gamer or a younger gamer. But I think anyone who played video games really between 2000 and 2017, before the Switch dropped, maybe you played Wii Sports, because everyone did. Maybe you've played a Pokemon game. Maybe you've played a Mario or a Zelda game. But when you think video games, or at least video game consoles, I honestly believe, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I believe that you think Microsoft and Sony purely because they're the players. They're the people in the game. Yes, Nintendo's, like I said, had their GameCubes and their Wii's and their Wii U's, but the less talk about that console, the better. But I think this says that, like, hey, Microsoft, we lost this gen. We lost it bad, right? PS5 has outsold Xbox One almost 4 times, right? But I think the latest PS4 sold are like, God, I should have this number on the whiteboard somewhere, like 110 million, which is bonkers. The best-selling console of all time is the PS2 at like 100, 130, 140. Maybe I've got my numbers slightly skewed there, but I know the PS2 I think is the second best-selling console of all time. And we'll get to that in a bit, like I said, because that is the opinion piece of this show. And I'm kind of revealing my hand. But we can move on to the next story here. But I just think it is crazy that Microsoft had a guaranteed £60 from everyone who was buying an Xbox One X, Xbox Series X, should I say. I hate that name so much. And loved Halo. They had a guaranteed £60 because everyone who saw that trailer, who was a Halo fan, was like, yeah, this is what I want. Just give me more Halo. Again, a guy who's never really played a Halo game, it didn't make me erect. It didn't give me the feelings I wanted. But it must have given some people, because some people seem really hyped on it. And they're not taking their money. Now, this is a company that has to be making a profit somehow, right? That's why companies do this, it's a business. So unless that thing is filled with micros, or if you buy the game, like maybe it's like you get a playlist that rotates or something, but we can confirm Halo Infinite Multiplayer will be free to play. And I guess the second half of this quote is, we'll support 120 FPS on Xbox Series X. That's not going to be 4K. The whole point of the new consoles is 4K 60, right? If you're doubling your FPS, you have to be halving your resolution, because there's just not that much power in there. Yes, the Xbox is the more powerful console. It isn't a supercomputer. Anyway, moving on to headline 2. Rocksteady finally talked about their new game, and it's Suicide Squad. This also from Twitter /Rocksteady, the official Twitter of Rocksteady Studios. Target locked. Hashtag DC Fandom, August 22nd. Hashtag Suicide Squad game. And then this picture of like it's the back of Superman. There's a crosshair on it, and it says Suicide Squad in the crosshair. Rocksteady Studios Limited is a British video game developer based in London, England. Their company is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, who owns DC, hence Batman, Superman, that sort of stuff. The studio is best known for its work on the Batman Arkham series. And then just a quick rundown, Batman Arkham Asylum came out in 2009 for PS3 and 360 and PC. Arkham City 2011 was the same generation. Then we had Arkham Knight in 2015, which was a PS4, Xbox One, and also PC. And then they finished off with Batman Arkham VR in 2016. There was a forgotten game of the Batman Arkham series, though. Batman Arkham Origins 2013 was made by WB Montreal. It is the prequel set 5 years before Arkham Asylum and developed by WB Montreal Games. And Rocksteady hate the fact that another developer made that game. So, how do I, a DC comic book nerd, feel about this? How do I, a video game aficionado, feel about Suicide Squad the game? The rumor is the name is Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, which is a dope name for an animated movie. For a video game, I think that's way too wordy. If I'm being honest, I'm a little bit disappointed. And again, guys, I can see there's a few people in the chat. Feel free, chime up. Let me know how you think about this. We can slow down. We can speed up. Y'all let me know what you think. But I'm a little disappointed by this. I'm going to be real. For a long time, it was rumored that they were making a Superman game, which I'm a big Superman fan. I love Superman. I think Rocksteady cut their teeth, proved themselves time after time with the Batman Arkham series. I was really looking forward to see what a company with that pedigree, honestly, does with Superman. People always say you can't make a Superman game, guy can't die, right? Guy's indestructible. He can fly. He can punch everything through buildings. There's no challenge there. How do you do that? I think there's a way to do that. Maybe that'll be an opinion piece at another time. I don't know. But I think you can make a good Superman game. I think it just takes time and you have to think it through. Now, am I a video game developer? Have I even attempted to make a video game? No. Do I even know the first thing about making a video game? Not really, no. So I could be talking out of my butt. I could be talking straight out my ass. I have no idea the challenges of making a video game. But goddamn, do I want me a Superman video game. There was also a rumor they were working on a Teen Titans game. Well, I think it was Superman / Justice League, which could have been cool. We could have got maybe a couple of Wonder Woman segments. We could have got like Aquaman, or we could have got The Flash. We could have got Cyborg. Like, yeah, but the problem with that, and we can talk about that a little bit later on regarding the Avengers game, is you eventually are making 5 different games, right? You're making the guy who flies, you're making the woman who punches, you're making the guy who uses the batarangs and uses the stealth stuff. You're making 4 or 5 different games caked into one game. And I could only imagine how difficult that's got to be to think out, to whiteboard, to have all the construction going on in the background. That sounds like a hell of a lot of work. And I don't blame them for not making that. But when I heard that the Justice League game wasn't happening and that potentially a Teen Titan game was happening, I didn't care about anything else. I just cared. Give me that Dick Grayson. Give me that Nightwing. Give me that like 4-player co-op action game about the Teen Titans. Put Starfire in there. Hell, put Red Hood in there as an unlockable character. Who cares? Put 100 skins in there, which you can unlock. Make a Marvel Ultimate Alliance, a Diablo for Justice League. I think that would be awesome. I can see Hannah Gunter in the chat saying a Wonder Woman game is something I can definitely get behind. I 100% agree. A Wonder Woman game, give me... Hell, it was called Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Cassandra, I played as Wonder Woman. There is a need for a Wonder Woman game. I think. She's had a great movie. She's having another movie coming out, I think now later this year, unless that's all been moved. But a Wonder Woman game, I am a little bit dubious, right? So Rocksteady have cut their teeth and proved that they are making DC comic book games. They are owned by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers owns DC. From now until the end of time, I think they're going to be at least tying things into. Unless they have a big, we're not making, like, from the makers of Batman Arkham Asylum and Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League comes an original story. And it's kind of comic book-like because they love that deep mythos where, like, Batman has a call with Oracle, and they get all the cast of the animated TV show, and they know what they're doing when they do that. They're talking to people like me. I do wonder, with all the stuff happening in the films right now, whether a Suicide Squad movie has just passed them by. I really hope they don't do the aesthetic of the films. They haven't with their other games, but I feel like Suicide Squad became a bit of a... Like, I saw so many Harley Quinn t-shirts and, like, Daddy's Little Monsters and, like, the Joker tattoos. I hope it became like a 14-year-old's wet dream, right? Like, you could go to Blue Banana or, like, a Hot Topic or something and buy, or, like, HMV even, and buy, like, a Deadshot t-shirt or onesie or something. I really hope they walk away from that aesthetic, because... that is not what this game should be. And it gives me a little bit of pause. I'm seeing, maybe it's just the angle, right? I'm going to zoom into this picture. Enhance. This looks like a darker Superman to me. There's like a little bit of cloud around his eyes. And as I look, like, we've got the Injustice games. We've got like, I'm really struggling to think of, like, but Superman's gone evil in the past before, right? We've had bad Superman. The amount of Suicide Squad Harley Quinn cosplayers at Wales Comic Con the last time we went. And that is what I'm talking about. Like, you need to break away from the meme, I think, personally. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that makes a lot of money and that's all people care about. But I think you've proven yourself as you want to make that money, you want to make that cheddar, but also you want to make what people want. You want to make stuff not just for fanboys, but for the people who are actually invested in this stuff. And they've done that before with the DC animated stuff. Like I said, getting that entire cast back, getting Mark Hamill as the Joker, getting Kevin Costner, Kevin Conroy as Bruce, as Batman. Now, I was getting this is like a slightly evil Superman, and I really hope it's not like, well, Superman like went evil and became a tyrant and the whole world's on lockdown and he's blowing up tanks and he's taking out militaries. Because, like, yes, that was a cool story. It was a cool story in 2006 before it was done to death. Like, Superman being the, like, lone protector and putting martial law down on... And this is all me speculating from this one picture. I just hope they can be more imaginative than... Justice League's gone evil, and the bad guys are going to take the good guys out, because the bad guys are now the good guys, and the good guys are now the bad guys. Like, you can do something more with that. Anyway, we see here as well, DC Fandom, August 22nd. That is DC's sort of online Comic-Con. They're talking about a bunch of their movies that are coming out. They're talking about a bunch of stuff. So we're going to find more out about this game real soon, and of course, we're going to be here to talk about it. Anyway. Item number 3. News number 3. Nintendo increasing Switch production again. It is about time. So this comes from Rob Mortimer over at GameRant.com, and according to leaks reported by Bloomberg, Nintendo have increased orders to 25 million units of the Nintendo Switch by March 2021, the end of its financial year. Following a previous increase to 22 million in April 2020, both of these figures go well above Nintendo's financial year forecast of 19 million. I'm going to take a break in that paragraph and tell you that Nintendo thought they were going to sell 19 million copies of the Nintendo Switch, the handheld, right? Instead, they have, because of current events and everyone wanting Animal Crossing New Horizons, have upped it to 25 million. That is a deficit of 6 million units. That is a lot of Nintendo Switches, guys. The need for extra Switch production is largely being linked to the huge success of Animal Crossing New Horizons, initial sales of which were boosted by people looking to play at home during COVID-19's lockdown. So yes, that is a bonkers number. So Nintendo Switch is Nintendo's console/handheld hybrid that launched in 2017, originally launching with a bevy of highly acclaimed games including Super Mario Odyssey, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. The console was thought to have dried up, riding a wave of indies and the occasional AAA game. But yo, this game just will not quit. Animal Crossing New Horizons has outsold every other game in the Animal Crossing series. And so I started doing some numbers, right? I started working out how many copies it sold. Animal Crossing New Horizons has sold 22 million copies. If there are 25 million Nintendo Switches out, that means that almost every person who owns a Nintendo Switch has bought Animal Crossing. That is an attachment rate of nearly 1-to-1. That is nuts. That doesn't happen anywhere else. The only thing I could even think of when that happened was the Wii Sports, which came in the box of the Wii. We're talking about a game that is so proliferous, whatever that word is, a game that has sold so many goddamn versions and copies because the world, you haven't been able to go outside, that has sold, a company is like, we need to make more of these things to get more money. So I started doing the math, right? The Switch came out in 2017. Just to let everyone know, it is August 6th, 2020. So we are talking almost 3 years. It was, in fact, we are talking over 3 years. The best-selling game on the Nintendo Switch is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. As of June 30th, 2020, this game released in April 28th, 2017, like a launch game for the Switch, right? Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as of June 30th this year, has sold 26.74 million copies. And that's in 3 years. 3 and a bit years. The next game on this list is Animal Crossing New Horizons, which launched March 20th, the beginning of lockdown. We're talking 3-4 months. As of June 30th, 2020, sold 22.4 million. So guys, I had to go deeper. I had to go Inception. I had to go one layer more. The next game on the list, top 5 games now being sold. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. As of June 30th, it came out December 7th, 2018, so a year after the Switch, has sold 19.99 million units. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, the highest rated game on the Switch. The game everyone was like, this is the best thing ever. Nintendo have done it again. Nintendo have made the best game of the decade, right? That thing sold 18.6 million units and came March 3rd, 2017. That means, I want to put some context into this, and that's sort of the whole point of the show. Let's unpack this, right? Let's talk about why these things matter. At least matter to me, right? When the Switch came out and Legend of Zelda was released, there wasn't a lot on the Switch. People were buying more than one copy of the Switch because they wanted to have the box version. They wanted to have the statue. They wanted to have my digital version because I only can fit one cartridge in the Switch, so I want to have that on a memory card. I want the legendary book that comes with it and all this sort of stuff. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild had an attachment rate of over 1. That means more copies of the game sold than Nintendo Switches when it came out. That more copies of the game were sold than copies of the unit itself that could play the game. And now, in 3 months, something has completely... Now, there are more Switches, which I guess does muddy the waters with that sentence. But that is bonkers. And then, the 5th best game, the 5th highest selling game on Nintendo Switch, is Pokemon Sword and Shield, which released November 15th, 2019, with 18.2 million copies sold. Those are all bonkers numbers, right? Now, it is a child-friendly console. Those are all child-friendly games. I really don't like wine, guys. But to be able to sell that many units, you aren't just selling to kids. I bought a copy. My girlfriend bought a copy. I know people in the chat have bought copies. We have here a console that won't stop. And we have a game that won't stop. So much so that people are saying, I will spend £300, $350, whatever it works out as, on a Animal Crossing machine. Again, I've done it. My girlfriend has over 600 hours into Animal Crossing. This has been her bread and butter through lockdown. And clearly has been millions of people's others' bread and butter, which is bonkers. The game ain't going to stop. We're going to keep seeing stories like this. And we just need to understand that Nintendo have realized they have a goldmine on their hands. There will be an Animal Crossing expansion pack. There will be I wouldn't even be surprised if there was an Animal Crossing Netflix show, honestly. Give me the Tom Nook adventures of how he finds all the different islands. Why not? You have an install base of 25 million. Anyway, next story. Headline number 4. Is the White House banning Fortnite? On Thursday, this is from Brandon Meyer over at cybernews.com. I'm really trying to get my sources cited. On Thursday, the 6th of August, US President Donald Trump signed an executive order banning any US business dealings with the WeChat parent company Tencent within 45 days. Trump's order against Tencent was issued simultaneously with his executive order against TikTok parent company ByteDance. Now, I'm going to forget about that ByteDance bit for a sec. I don't want to get too political in this show here. This is not what this is about. This is not about whether people should have done this, shouldn't have done this, whether it's a political move. I don't want to get into that, right? But for those who don't know, Tencent Holdings Limited is a Chinese multinational conglomerate holding company founded in 1998. Tencent is the world's largest video game company, this is bonkers, one of the world's most financially valuable companies. That means they make more money, that they are one of the biggest companies in the world, and that they put in so much money into the economy that they are a value. That is mental. That is too much power. Not getting political. And one of the world's largest social media companies. The world's largest venture capital firms and investment corporations. So what that means is they keep recycling their money into other companies to get more money. Its services include social network, music, web portals, e-commerce, mobile games, internet services, payment systems, smartphones, and multiplayer online games. So, what is Tencent then? This conglomerate, this multinational conglomerate. What has this got to do with video games? Because all we do here is we click the mouse and we play a little Fortnite and we get some chicken dinners and we do the floss, and what's that got to do with business dealings? So, in 2012, Tencent became a shareholder of Epic Games, buying a total of 40% shares of Epic in the company in 2012, meaning that they own almost half of the company that makes Fortnite. Fortnite, no one needs any introduction to this game. It is the biggest thing in the world. It has transcended video games. It is a new... Honestly, it's like a new generation. People will grow up knowing Fortnite. It is bigger than Pokemon. It is bigger than Minecraft, in my opinion, because Minecraft never got NFL players doing the dances. It is a phenomenon, and they have been making 40% on all of Epic's games, including Fortnite. However, Tim Sweeney, the founder of Epic, who, the Unreal Engine, Unreal Tournament, Epic Games, right? Is a majority shareholder with 48.4%. So he never gave up his majority control. However, how does this go into League of Legends? Because that's not done by Epic. MOBA, and really esport darling, League of Legends, is actually published by Tencent. The game is distributed in China, because China have strict laws on what video games can be played, and I think they've only just got their very first console. The game is distributed in China by Tencent Inc. through its QQ game portal. This deal was one of only a handful of partnerships to bring a US-developed online game directly to China. Delicious. That needs lemonade. That is foul. So, what does this mean? Trump says, hey, we're going to stop dealing with Tencent. We're going to stop taking the Chinese money from Tencent. But one of the largest video games in the world, and, two of the largest video games in the world, Fortnite and League of Legends, regardless if you hear about it on the news or not, League of Legends is absolutely bonkersly big. They're both going to get stopped, right? Well, no. In this article from Cyber News, we see that video game companies owned by Tencent will not be affected by this executive order. White House officials confirmed to the LA Times that the executive order, the EO, only blocks transactions related to WeChat. So Riot Games, League of Legends, and Epic Games, Fortnite, are all safe. For now. That for now is really scary, in my opinion. Not trying to get, like I said, not trying to get political and all this sort of jazz, but that is a truly scary thing. Not since Mortal Kombat and Night Trap back in the 80s, when video games were deemed to be corrupting kids' minds and getting people to kill themselves, and school shootings and all this sort of stuff. Have we had to talk about the government getting involved in video games? For those who don't know, Mortal Kombat comes out, they start seeing that heads can get ripped off, and they say, we need to stop allowing kids to play this. Back in the day, games had no video game rating. There was no 18, there was no 15, there was no 12, there was no mature, there was no for teens. So the video games are being talked about in court, in senates, by we can't let kids play these. You can go watch Senate hearings online. Go YouTube them. And so, what happens is video games say, like, yo, we're about to get shut down by the government, essentially. Like, we are going to be told what we can put in them, what we can't put in them, all because people want to have games where heads can get ripped off. And, like, that's not a problem in my mind, right? Like, it's art, make whatever art you want to make. If that's what it is, and the people want to play it, because in my mind, it's a free market, right? It's not in my mind, it is a free market. So if you make something and people think it's worth playing or buying or consuming, they'll buy it. People won't buy something if they don't think it's worth it or that's what they want. So if people didn't want art about Scorpion burning a man to death, then they wouldn't buy Mortal Kombat. If they do want to see, like, Sub-Zero throwing out ice balls and punching their friends, then they're going to buy it. And I think that proves what people want. So video games are about to get shut down by the government, right? They're essentially like, we're going to regulate and censor you because you can't show our youths this. The whole video game industry in the 80s was like, oh, shit, what are we going to do? So they start to regulate themselves. They come up with PEGI, which is what we use. So they start coming up with, well, films have a rating. If we do that, we can clear ourselves because my set's falling apart. We will be able to regulate ourselves. We'll be able to put ratings on the games. And so they come up with a whole idea of 18s and 15s and 12s and PGs and whatever. Taken from the film industry, absolutely. But they start regulating themselves in a way to keep the government out of video games. And ever since then, as far as I'm aware, they've been pretty separate. There's been the whole thing about loot boxes last year, about whether it's gambling, which is a conversation for a different time, absolutely. And again, if you guys want to talk about any of this stuff, feel free to put it in the chat, put it in my Twitter, in the bottom one of them, 6 ones, which is @itsadova, or email us, readysetlute@gmail.com, but we can revisit gambling and loot boxes another time. This is scary. I'm gonna be real. The fact that it was said for now, I think is very scary. And finally, the fifth headline: Spider-Man swings with the Avengers, but only for Sony. This comes from Ryan Gilliam over at Polygon.com. Crystal Dynamics Associate Art Director Jeff Adams reveals that Spider-Man will come to Marvel's Avengers sometime next year. However, Spider-Man will only come to PS4 and PS5. Meaning Windows, PC, and Xbox players will not have access to the new hero. Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics did not specify if Spider-Man's appearance in Marvel's Avengers would be permanent or would be a timed exclusive. Marvel's Avengers is an upcoming action-adventure video game co-developed by both Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal and published by Square Enix. Based on the Marvel comic superhero team, The Avengers, the game is an adaptation of the mythos of the long-running comic books and is not related to the highly successful Marvel Cinematic Universe set of films. It is separate. And you can see here the byline is, sorry PC and Xbox, no webhead for you. So I think we should sort of break this down, why this is happening, right? Why Spider-Man is in bed with Sony, why there are exclusive things happening to the Sony console ecosystem regarding Spider-Man, why the PS3 had the Spider-Man font for the word PlayStation 3. So, years ago, Marvel, right, they're not owned by Disney, and they start thinking, hey, 10/29, I look nice, thank you. I thought it'd be best to suit and boot ourselves for the maiden voyage. Cheers. I am sweating to death, so I don't know if we're going to be making a habit of this. So Marvel are going bankrupt in the early 2000s because of failures with movies, and movies are an expensive industry, with comics book sales declining rapidly because video games are coming out. They start to hemorrhage money. So Marvel says, yo, we can't make a good X-Men film. We can't make a good Spider-Man film. Let's sell the rights. So they sell, in the 90s, it is crucial to tell you guys, for those who aren't comic book readers, Iron Man was not big. Captain America was not big. Thor, no one really cared. Honestly, in the 90s and the early 2000s, people cared about 2 characters, Wolverine and Spider-Man. X-Men and the Spider-Man universe. So to keep themselves afloat, Marvel says, yo, Sony, we want to sell you some stuff and get some money. We'll sell you the rights indefinitely, the rights and the license to Spider-Man for movie and video game adaptations. We can write about them in the books, but you get final say. We're never making movies. We're not going to make a cinematic universe of all these films in 10 years and become one of the most successful film franchises ever. How's it about you give us some money and we'll give you Spider-Man? Marvel say, absolutely. Even if he's hemorrhaging money now, they saw the long game and said, we can turn this round. Hence, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films. Then, years pass, right? They then sell X-Men, Wolverine, X-Men, that sort of stuff, to Fox. Now owned by Disney, but Fox. And they start making the X-Men cinematic universe. And those things are made by two different companies, two different sides of the globe, near enough. They're never going to talk to each other. And so a little film called Iron Man in 2006, 2007 by Marvel, before they get bought by Disney, starts showing that you can have different characters in different films talk to each other, and everyone goes, oh shit, where's Spider-Man? Oh shit, where's Wolverine? They're like, yo, we sold them 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago to other companies. We don't have any rights to that. Which brings us all around to this, right? 2018, Spider-Man is, Sony say Insomniac Games are gonna make a Spider-Man game. And you can even see there's an ad for it by here. I'm gonna highlight this. This is a critical game for them. It was a game they put on in like Super Bowl ads, the sides of buses. Now, we're from the UK. We don't see that a whole lot from where we are. But in America, this game caught on like wildfire. And it's one of the best-selling games on the PS4 to date, even though it came out a year and a half ago. They marketed the shit out of this game. It was on YouTube ads. They probably spoiled it, right? Which just ignited Spider-Man in the Sony mindshare. People tie PlayStation and Sony and Spider-Man together. They don't do it with Xbox because they never got a chance to see it. So, when Marvel starts saying we're going to make all these games, we're going to go to Square Enix. 2017, Disney buys Marvel and all this sort of stuff, and they start wrapping up their cinematic universe. And they say, we're going to get serious about video games. We've never really been into the video game market. Disney wants to make good video games. We're not going to make studios because that'll take too long. We're not going to recruit people. We're not going to get people on different... we're not going to mash people together and force them to make a game we want to make. We're going to go to studios that already exist. We're going to go to companies that prove themselves that they can make good games. And we're going to say, yo, Insomniac, you make games about fast-moving people. Do you want to make a Spider-Man game? And they say, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? Sony are like, well, we own Spider-Man, and Insomniac have worked with us in the past. Not a first party yet. They're a third party, but a lot of the games are actually second party, which we can break down a little bit later on if you guys need. They're a third party developer. Sony owns Spider-Man. They say, okay, yeah, you make this game fantastic. You've worked for our platforms before. You've made games exclusively for us. Make a game for us. Make Spider-Man for us. And they do. And it sells fucking gangbusters, right? So then, but Square Enix, a third-party developer who make games for everything, are like, yo, we own a company called Crystal Dynamics, and Marvel approached us to make an Avengers game. We're going to make a Destiny-like Avengers game, which we can get to in a bit. A Destiny-like Avengers game, which will have the MCU, but not the MCU. We've got Hulk. We've got Iron Man. We've got Captain America. We've got Thor. We've got Black Widow. We've got Hawkeye. I think now Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, who's not Captain Marvel, another character is in there as well, who's not in the MCU. But like everyone kind of has that MCU vibe. It's heroes in the real world, but it's a Destiny-like. So eventually they start saying, they're like, we're going to have more characters. We're going to have more characters. And Sony see this and they're like, dollar signs. Dollar signs, absolutely. Let's put Spider-Man in there. We have a game that has Spider-Man. We've worked out all the moves and how he should play and all like this. We have the rights to it. We're going to put Spider-Man on PS4. But only for PS4. And if you want to play Spider-Man in a Destiny-like Avengers game, buy a PS4 or a PS5, because the new one's coming out soon, and play it there. Personally, guys, I know that was a long rant to say, I think this is a fucking awful move. I think, business-wise, that makes so much goddamn sense, okay? I can see why a company would say, we want to keep things exclusive to us, but when this game, which, in my mind, doesn't look great, okay? It looks very generic. It looks very button mashy. I don't know if there's going to be much strategy into it other than just like, oh, like I've got a different hammer for Thor. Because there's loot in the game, right? It's a Destiny-like. Taking one of the biggest names in that game and saying like, oh yeah, but like it's only available on one platform, and the game's crossplay. So all the Xbox people are going to see... all the Xbox people will see Spider-Man just out of reach. Can't believe Fox is saying console exclusivity is only good in business perspective in my eyes. Consumer-wise, it's always a stupid move. I think that is a way more succinct way of saying what I'm trying to say. I think it is a great idea in paper. You want, as Sony, a company who should be making money, they say, you need to buy our stuff. You need to come play in our world if you want to do this. But right now, in this world of crossplay, and a game that's going to be crossplay, like, it's bad enough when games do the whole 30 days, 60 days, a year's exclusivity. I think Destiny had like a gun or something that was locked for a year on PS4. Because Sony wrote Bungie a big old check, or Activision a big old check back in the day. It's weird that content that is a third-party game is locked behind an imaginary wall of I'm on this server, not this server, or I use this controller, not this controller. I think this will change. I think the amount of backlash that happens on this will absolutely change what is happening. Because why wouldn't it? Anyway, that was a long way for me to say this is stupid. It has a reason to be so stupid. But it is stupid. And then finally, number 6 is a wrap-up, guys. Number 6, Hitman 3, the latest game in the upcoming stealth series Hitman, is coming to PSVR. There's going to be a mode in there. I assume the whole game's not going to be PSVR. That sounds insane. I'm very excited for this. Temtem, the Pokemon-inspired creature battler MMO, is coming to PS5 in 2021. Fall Guys, the platformer royale, has surpassed 1.5 million players, helped somewhat by it being the PS Plus game this month, and the servers are burning because of it. Detroit Become Human, the latest narrative-driven game from Quantic Dream, has surpassed 5 million games sold, which is cool, because I really like Quantic Dream games. I think we're gonna see a new one soon, but I think David Cage, the developer and director of those games, has come into quite a bit of controversy recently. So we may not see one anytime soon, or at least his name may not be attached to it, but we're definitely going to see new games for them soon. Splunky 2, the sequel to the much-loved roguelike platform, is making its way to PS4 on September 5th this year, which is cool. For those who haven't played Splunky, it is a sort of 2D Mario-style Indiana Jones dungeon delver that is really hard, and they're making a sequel that looks really good, and it's going to be coming out soon. Doom Eternal, the run-and-gun demon-killing FPS that launched earlier this year from id Software, has announced a campaign expansion called Ancient Gods Part 1. More details will be divulged later on. And finally, the Final Fantasy VII remake, the much-loved remake of the classic JRPG Final Fantasy VII that launched earlier this year, has also surpassed 5 million units sold. Oh my god, that's a lot of words. But we did it, guys. So, now comes to what I would say is the last, or one of the last segments of this show. And this is just me straight off the cuff, right? Let's roll the sleeves up and we can get a little bit comfy. This is time for the opinion piece, where I give you an opinion that maybe isn't popular, maybe isn't even right, but I think is worth talking about. And the opinion today is that Xbox, Microsoft, are not even playing the same game as Sony. So I talked about this a little bit in I can't spell. I'm trying to find some numbers here. I talked about this a little bit in the Halo thing, right? The Halo news story. I don't think Xbox Series X, the new console coming out from Microsoft this November, no one's talked about dates yet, is not even trying to play the same game as Sony. Sony are very much saying we are a console driven by generations. You can trace this back to the PS1, the PS2, the PS3, the PS4, and now the latest and greatest PlayStation, the PS5. Xbox are saying, yeah, no, cool, us too. We got the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, and the Xbox Series X. Which I think the reason for that naming convention, the fact they didn't call this like the Xbox 2 or something is bonkers. The reason for this naming convention is because in the 360 time, it looked like, right, we need to be big and brash and bold and we need to stand out. But I think it's bit them in the ass. And so they have pivoted hard during this console cycle to get to this idea of like, Xbox do not give a shit if you buy the Xbox Series X. They don't care. They want you to buy Xbox Games Pass, their Netflix-style subscription-based model, which gets you £8 a month to play any game that's on that service. You can play them on PC. You can play them on Xbox One, Xbox One X. I get so confused by these names. And the Xbox Series X. Backwards compatible has been there. Not since day one, because they did say it was impossible on the Xbox One, but they got it working, which is something PS4 hasn't done, which is, I guess, another opinion piece for another time. But Xbox Xbox Series X is just an advert for you to buy their ongoing monthly subscription service. I can see here Nuclear Penguin saying Xbox consoles have always seemed to be more focused towards home entertainment system. I think PlayStation have always been like, we produce a game console. End of. That I agree with for this generation. The Xbox One, I think, is the Xbox all-in-one, right? Plug your Virgin network into the back of it. Plug your cable into it. And then say, hey, Xbox, turn on Channel 4. And it would do that. Hey, Xbox, show WWE Network. And it would do that. It had Connect in the box, so you would say, I have an all-in-one media system. It's the Xbox One. And this bit them in the ass because when they announced the console, they talked about Steven Spielberg more than they talked about video games. I think, so I can see Noodle Penguin saying the original Xbox was great, and so was the 360. Xbox One tried to be more than it should have been. I agree. I think, however, Xbox 360... Xbox One, the Xbox original, OG Xbox, was good. I think it was derivative and didn't have a reason. Obviously, Xbox comes from DirectX, which is Windows and Microsoft, but the PS2 had come out since the 2000s, right? The original Xbox, I want to say, came out 2003, and I can't find it on... These are numbers I should just have memorized, but we'll get there. Let's say 2003, 2002, right? No, it had original Half-Life on there, and that came out 2004. So, did it come out in 2004? Must have. It must have. So, in my mind, best console of all time, PS2. Sold over 155 million units, came out in 2000. It was a Trojan horse because it got you to buy a DVD player, and also was the best video game box at that time. It was the same price, if not cheaper than most DVD players. Everyone had that copy of The Matrix that they would watch over and over again, or like Memento that had the bonus feature of like putting it in reverse, or they bought like the box set of Futurama or The Simpsons because you had a PS2 that could watch DVDs. You don't got to rewind your tapes anymore. It was a Trojan horse, and it absolutely paid off. Then, in 2006, first off, actually, 2005, Xbox 360 launches. Xbox 360 changes the game, and in most people's mind, wins that console cycle. Wins the console cycle of PS3 comes out, but the 360 is better. Summer of Arcade, Xbox Live, look at Crackdown, look at Gears, look at Halo. Everything, look at Forza. Everything is bigger and better than PS3. Except for the fact the PS3 sold more consoles than the 360 and was on the market 1 year less. It had a worse online system. It had a terrible store. The controller for the PS3 was god awful until they remixed it. And it sold more. Why is that? Why did the PS3, a inferior console, IMO, like the cell processor on the PS3 was terrible. Like third-party ports did not work very well on the PS3, and yet it sold more copies. The reason is because Xbox tried to play in a game that they're not there to play. Best-selling games of all time, best-selling consoles of all time, not including the handhelds, because Game Boy is a different kettle of fish, is the PS2 with 155 million, PS4 with 110 million, PlayStation 102 million, the Wii 101, PS3 87, 360 86. Out of like the top 5 game consoles, PlayStation's up there with every one of them. Every PlayStation is one of the best selling consoles. One Xbox is one of the best. They're not playing the same game. They can't. So Xbox halfway through this cycle said, we need to go software. We're going to sell you Game Pass. We're going to sell you this online. The best deal in gaming right now is Xbox Game Pass. If you can buy one, if you can get an Xbox Game Pass, you absolutely should. Especially when they do it for like deals like $1 a month or something like that. People say that the biggest consoles in the biggest names in home console entertainment are Xbox or Microsoft and Sony. Again, maybe you can put Nintendo in there. Maybe you can't. You can't. Depends really on your age group. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think Xbox is a console manufacturer. I don't think Xbox is a competitor in the console space. I think they got lucky. I think they made a good console. I think they got the right time, the right place. I think they're a software developer. I think they make great online. I think they make great games. I think they make great services. There's nothing wrong with that. You'd make so much more money if you put your games on PlayStation. There are so many more PlayStation. If Halo Master Chief Collection came to Switch, it would run like shit. So does The Witcher. People still bought it. Put Halo Master Chief in Smash. You need to. I don't know. You need to. You don't have to listen to me at all. Mr. Phil Spencer, if you listen to this, ignore everything. Do what you want to do, right? You have sold roughly 50 million Xbox Ones, and there are roughly 110 million PS4 sold. This is from Wikipedia. These dates are from June 30th, so we're talking a month ago. Don't put yourself through this. Honestly, be a software developer and own it so hard. Square Enix, for instance, right? They are a publisher who owns other developers, and there's nothing wrong. They own Minecraft. Xbox owns Minecraft. Minecraft's already on PS4. There are Xbox games. Cuphead just came to PS4. There are Xbox games now owned by Microsoft coming to other consoles. And the idea that that Master Chief is green and has to be on the green box is ridiculous. It's not a problem to bow out. It's a It looks worse if the Xbox Series X sells 10 million consoles, 20 million consoles, and PS5. It could flip. I could eat these words in 6 months' time, and everyone hold me to it. But I think the PS5 will come out and sell roughly the same numbers as the rest of the PlayStations because history has proved me right. What is the Xbox Series X going to sell? Realistically, you only sell to your own market. PS4 is an outlier. It took a lot of Xbox 360 players. I know people who had a 360 and only bought a PS4 because all their friends had a PS4 because it was the winning one. So now they're not buying a 360 or an Xbox One. They're buying a PS4. And a lot of people double dip, right? 50 million people bought an Xbox One estimated. How many of those only own an Xbox One? Probably, like there are, what do we say, 25 million Switches? No one just owns a Switch, right? Nuclear Penguin, if I could have the Xbox One controller with a PlayStation console, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. So do it. Why? I don't understand why that isn't already happening. Now, a monopoly is a terrible idea. So I understand why staying in the game, competition is better for everyone. Competition makes companies try different things. So I understand why that needs to happen. I don't know if it needs to be Xbox. But I think if Xbox bows out, who else is going to take that place? Well, it'd be nice if Nintendo did. They're the people who are profiting the most from this entire lockdown. I don't know. That's just my opinion, guys. And guys, this has been the first ever goddamn episode of Ready, Set, Lute. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This will be on YouTube and SoundCloud for the audio version and hopefully Spotify at some point. I am Dan Howells, aka Dover64. You can find me streaming video games and being very bad at them at twitch.tv/Dover64 on Wednesdays and Fridays at 6:30 p.m. GMT, because UK time. If you're new here, give us a follow. We're always getting one step closer to that affiliate plan, and it helps so much. I get emails from Twitch every goddamn stream, and it looks nice to see all those ticks, and it'd be even nicer if we get 4 out of 4 ticks, and that'd be because of you guys, the OGs. Remember, you can email us with your topics, with your not a book club suggestions, with the things you want to talk about. The whole point of this podcast is that you guys are the co-host. And that's the best. I don't know of another podcast doing that. So thank you so much. Remember, like, share, subscribe, whatever you're supposed to say. I'm not very good at doing this sort of stuff. We are going to be doing what we are calling one-shots on Sundays, which is after our streams, when we play video games. However, today, I have a very busy schedule, so I am not going to be playing a one-shot today. That will be next Sunday, and we will be playing Quarantine Subsurface. No, Quarantine Circular by Mike Bithell. We played the first one a couple of weeks ago, and I'm very excited to get to this. The idea of one-shots, they are smaller one-seat games, games designed to be played in one chunk. A one sit-down game. 2-3 hour game. Anyway, you guys are the best. Thank you all for rocking with us in the free world. Take it easy, and I'll see you all Wednesday, 6:30 GMT. Take it easy, guys.